In the past week, the Wall Street Journal reported a case of a man, a simple young man, who in 2012 stole 50,000 Bitcoin. Eventually, they became worth $3.4 billion US dollars. He was uncovered by the new crime-fighting technology that can crack what was considered the safest of all shields, blockchain. One of the earliest tech crime fighters in this area is a company called Chainalysis, now working in Australia. And this week I spoke with its Vice President of Investigations, Erin Plante, from Washington. And I started by asking when blockchain went from being impenetrable to something so porous it helps fight crime.
I've spent about 17 years investigating cyber-related crime, and really in the last 3 to 5 years we've seen a heavy emergence of crypto in these crimes. And I've been with Chainalysis now for 3 years, leading a team of investigators who spend all day, every day, looking at illicit transactions on the blockchain and trying to combat this type of crime. Blockchain is inherently public in nature, so anyone with the tools to view it and interpret it is able to look at the transactions and trace the payments and trace transactions that are occurring in real time as they move across borders, as they move between parties. So it really is a unique opportunity from an investigation perspective. It's also a unique opportunity for a criminal perspective because it's also able to move across borders. It's able to have transactions in real time, and it's available to anyone. So you have both criminals taking advantage of the technology as well as many users around the world who are gaining access to a financial system that's really beneficial for them.
Now, Erin, look, I might sound naive here, but I thought blockchain was something that was completely secure, that neither crime fighters like you or indeed the crooks could get into.
With most technology, you ultimately have some kind of password or set of keys or something like that that's going to give you access to that technology. And just in the way that those passwords and keys can be stolen for a bank account or for an email password, you're also able to have bad actors steal those keys for a crypto wallet. So if someone hacks in to your crypto wallet, they're usually gaining access because they've stolen your private keys, and they've done that through phishing or any of the age-old cyber tactics that have been out there for decades to hack into people's devices.
But that also means that those people, such as yourself, are able to almost get a pure trail of those transactions as they take place once you get inside.
Immediately as transactions occur, they appear on the blockchains that are handling those tokens. And so you are able to trace them in real time. So it really is a unique tool for investigators to be able to trace these transactions in real time. You don't have to use, try to gain access to financial records that are in a closed environment or something like that. They're all public in nature. The criminals themselves are getting more sophisticated in how they launder their funds because they are aware that investigators are able to trace transactions, they're able to follow the money, and criminals are being caught all over the world. Funds are being seized back from criminals all over the world, and more every day, really, as law enforcement and investigators become more proficient in these tools and in the tracing of crypto. So the criminals are getting more sophisticated, and they are looking for more money laundering tools that are available. So it's really important that these investigation tools keep up with the criminal patterns. It's also really important that law enforcement and public sector agencies around the world are able to trace and track these payments and follow the money just in the way they would follow the money if it was a cash payment. And regulators around the world as well are putting more emphasis on centralized services that transact in crypto to ensure there are proper know your customer requirements and they're following anti-money laundering proceedings that should be in place.
But isn't there some irony that the very mechanism, blockchain, that was thought to protect criminals is now becoming the device that's used to track their criminal enterprise?
It is. It absolutely is. Blockchain in its nature is pseudo-anonymous. So the transactions that you would see on a public block explorer, for example, you're just going to see funds moving from one alphanumeric address to another alphanumeric address. You're not going to see that an address is controlled by a person or by a type of entity. So in that way, it does build in this pseudo-anonymous nature. But tools like Chainalysis provides are giving a map of those addresses and telling investigators, telling regulators, telling banking institutions what type of activity that is. So if it's transactions that are coming from a sanctioned entity, for example, or from a darknet market or from a gambling site, or if those funds are stolen, it's no longer a pseudo-anonymous address-to-address transaction. You're seeing a map of that, and you're seeing funds flowing from a sanctioned entity, for example, to another address. So those tools on top of that public blockchain are really important to provide that map. And these tools are evolving, and the data is evolving, and it's allowing regulators to make informed decisions on the types of transactions that are in their jurisdiction. It's allowing banking institutions to engage in the crypto space in a safe way because they know that the transactions that they may be processing aren't coming from illegal enterprises. And it's also able to be to combat some of the crime that's occurring because law enforcement officers are able to trace criminals, they're able to seize back illicit funds, they're seizing back stolen funds and funds from scams and returning them to victims. So the power of the investigations using these tools that Chainalysis and others provide is really powerful.
But isn't there a danger on the other side of all this, that if the crime fighters can see through the blockchain transactions, then the criminals might be able to do the same thing to increase their propensity for fraud?
Cyber criminals in their nature tend to be on the forward edge of technology. They're usually looking for additional vulnerabilities in technology. They're looking for new ways that they can crack into new technology. So they do tend to be on the leading edge of this type of technology. And blockchain technology, particularly DeFi, the decentralized finance protocols, are newer and they're more innovative. So as these emerge and these new use cases and technology emerge, as long as there is underlying value to them, there will always be criminals that try to steal that value and try to exploit that value to engage in their criminal enterprises. What's really important is that the tools and the good guys are staying ahead of that crime and able to also leverage that technology so that we're one step ahead and we can proactively stop the crime from occurring. We can build up more security around the protocols. The crime that's occurred in the past year has built out a map of what we need to do as an industry to be stronger. It's pointed out a lot of vulnerabilities in the decentralized finance space where code is being exploited and funds are being stolen from those protocols. And that's created an industry of security personnel who are now auditing code and looking for vulnerabilities proactively to shut them down.
Erin, Plante, great to talk to you today. Many thanks for your time.
Really great speaking with you.